Good morning, students. I hope you all are very well. So today let's continue with part second of history, chapter number 4, and the name of the chapter is the Mughal Empire. In part first of this chapter, we have covered till Akbar's administration or the time till Akbar, and in part 2 we will cover from Jahangir's time or Jahangir's kingdom. Okay, let's continue with this. Jahangir from 1605 to 1627 AD. During Akbar's rule, or during the time when Akbar was ruling as the king, his eldest son Salim rebelled, or he stood against his father, or Salim stood against his father, and he himself set up as the independent ruler, or he declared himself as an independent ruler of Allahabad or at Allahabad. Akbar became seriously ill, or his health was not good in 1604, and with this, the quarrel or the misunderstanding between father and son was finished, and after the quarrel was over between father and son or between Akbar and Salim, so Akbar declared Salim as his successor or as the new king, declared himself as the new king. In 1605, Akbar died and Salim took the new name as Jahangir, and he began his rule in 1605. Means during, in short, if we want to say, during Akbar's kingdom or administration, his eldest son, who named as Salim, he stood against him, and Salim set himself or declared himself as the independent ruler of Allahabad. Okay, and during 1604 AD, Akbar became seriously ill, and due to this, due to illness, the quarrel between father and son became over, and as a result, Akbar declared Salim as his successor or as the upcoming king. In 1605, when king died, when the Akbar died, Salim renamed himself as Jahangir and took the throne in 1605 AD. Okay, very simple. Let's move forward. Major events, or what were the major activities took place during the Jahangir's time, means from 1605 to 1627 AD. Okay, there were major events like execution of Guru Arjun Dev. Means Guru, what's the story behind this? Guru Arjun Dev was the fifth Sikh Guru. Okay, he had given shelter to Prince Khusrau, who was the son of Jahangir, and the same means the Prince Khusrau has revolted and stood against his father Jahangir, and when Jahangir find that the Prince Khusrau was hiding or having the shelter from Guru Arjun Dev, so he asked the Guru to pay a fine of rupees 2 lakh. But when Guru Arjun Dev refused to pay the fine, he was tortured at the like hell. Means he was tortured or he was given punishment very badly. The Guru became martyr, or it means the Guru has gave up his life. This cruel act or this cruel act of torture or this very bad torture is started the beginning of, means this torture which was given by Jahangir to Guru Arjun Dev, it started the beginning of the bitter relation or bad relation between Sikh and Mughal. Okay, conquest means winning. Mewar, which Akbar could not win, was brought under control by Prince Khurram, who was the son of Jahangir in 1615 AD. Means Akbar could not win Mewar, but Prince Khurram, who was the grandson of Akbar and the son of Jahangir, he won Mewar in 1615 AD. In 1616, means in the next year, Prince Khurram personally commanding the Mughal forces to conquer the Ahmednagar fort. For this victory, and on the victory of Ahmednagar fort by Prince Khurram, Jahangir awarded the title of Shah Jahan to Prince Khurram. Okay, let's move forward. Here are the images of Jahangir king. Okay, two images we can see in this Let's move forward. Noor Jahan. Jahangir had married Noor Jahan in 1611 AD, and Noor Jahan was the widow, or he was the widow of Persian nobleman, or he was the wife of person who belonged to Persia, but he died, so she was widow of him. Noor Jahan was an ambitious lady, means her thinking and her mentality was very high. She wants to achieve more and more. She took control of the Due to this, she took control of entire administrative working of Jahangir rule in her hand. Her father and brother became the prominent nobles in the court of Jahangir. Due to the entire administration in the hand of Noor Jahan, her father and her brother, they were very important nobles, or they were very important person in the court of Jahangir. Jahangir used to take her advice on all important matter, means she used to assist her husband Jahangir on many important matter by giving her point of view on if asked. Jahangir died in 1627 AD. Noor Jahan wanted her son-in-law Shahryar to succeed Jahangir. After the death of Jahangir, Noor Jahan, she wanted her son-in-law Shahryar to be the successor of Jahangir. But Shah Jahan, who was the governor of Deccan during that time, he marched towards Agra, or he came to Agra and defeated Shahryar Khan, and he became the emperor in 1628 AD. Okay, Shah Jahan from 1628 to 1658, 30 years of rule. The East India Company has been formed in England in 1600 to trade with India. Means the East India Company was founded to trade with India in 1615 AD. Sir Thomas Roy was sent to India as an ambassador of the English king. In 1615 AD, Sir Thomas Roy, he was the ambassador of England king, or English king, who was sent to India as an ambassador. The English were permitted to open a factory at Surat, and the English have got the permission to start their trade and to open a factory at Surat. This is a photo of Shah Jahan king. Okay, two photos we can see here. Okay, let's move forward. He was a kind ruler, and his rule was generally peaceful. If we talk about how the personality of Shah Jahan was, he was very kind ruler, or kind-hearted ruler, and his administration or his working was very peaceful. And the original name of Shah Jahan was Prince Khurram. Ahmednagar, Bijapur, and Golconda. These three kingdoms of Deccan region, or these three kingdoms of Deccan area, was big trouble for Mughals, as they were unable to win it. Means they were unable to win it easily. After annexing Ahmednagar in 1632, the emperor asked the states of Bijapur and Golconda to submit them to the Mughal authority. Means when the Mughal won Ahmednagar fort, or the Ahmednagar in 1632, they have asked the states head of Bijapur and Golconda to submit themselves before the Mughal rulers or Mughal authority. The Mughal authority has suffered some reverses after Akbar's death. Means there the time of Mughals were not good after Akbar's death. Although Shah Jahan was able to recover the Kandahar, but they were not able to retain, or they were not able to keep Kandahar with themselves for a long time period. The Shah of Iran captured the Kandahar fort back in 1649. In, During 1657 AD, Shah Jahan became ill. A war of succession began among the four brothers. Means when Shah Jahan became ill in 1657, the war of succession, means it was not decided that who will be the successor of Shah Jahan. So there was a war between four brothers: Aurangzeb, Dara Shiok, Murad, and Shuja. Means they four started war against each other, and after them Aurangzeb emerged victorious. Means Aurangzeb won that war, and he imprisoned, or he gave prison sentence to his father, and after this he declared himself as the emperor. Now let's talk about Aurangzeb, 1658 to 1707 AD, almost 50 years. Aurangzeb, he was the Emperor Shah Jahan's sixth son, or he was the sixth son of Shah Jahan, who was born in 1618, 24 October AD at Dohad in Madhya Pradesh, and he wrested India's crown from his father before the end of 1658 June. Means Aurangzeb, who was born in 1618 in Dohad, Madhya Pradesh, and he took the crown, India's crown, from his father in 1658 AD after defeating his other three brothers or armies. Dara Shikoh, 1615, who was the eldest son of Shah Jahan. He was the resident of Shah Jahan courts at the resided here. Shuja was the governor of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, while Aurangzeb was governing the area of Deccan, and Murad was the governor of Gujarat and Malwa. Means they all four brothers were governor of some places. Okay, let's talk more about Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb took his own father prisoner. Means Aurangzeb kept his own father inside the prison. The Shuzad army was routed in battle, or they were destroyed in battle, and Murad was lured into false agreement and taken prisoner. And if we talk about Murad, then he was given, or he was lured with the charge of false agreement, and he was also taken into prison. Means false agreement, we can say in Hindi, धोखाधड़ी का केस लगा देना. Dara eventually collected together another force, suffered defeat as before, and once again he fled. But soon he was betrayed by one of his allies and handed over to his brother. And if we talk about the fourth one, Dara, he again collected one army, but he was defeated as before, and but he able to escape, but he was soon betrayed by one of his allies. But one of his one of the friend of Dara, he betrayed him, and that one friend handed Dara to Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb's relation was Rajput was never cordial. He kept Raja Jaswant Singh of Marwad and Raja Jai Singh of Mewar away from the court, as he was annoyed with them. Means Aurangzeb's relation with Rajput was not so good. The two Rajput kings, namely Raja Jaswant Singh of Marwad and Raja Jai Singh of Mewar, Aurangzeb didn't like both of them, and he used to keep them away from the court because he was annoyed with them, or he was not happy with them. After the death of Raja Jaswant Singh, Aurangzeb did not allow his infant son Ajit Singh to inherit the throne. Means after the death of king, it is usual that king's son will take the throne. But after the death of Raja Jaswant Singh of Marwad, the Aurangzeb did not allow his son Ajit Singh to inherit the throne of Mewar. He detained, or he kept Ajit Singh as prisoner in Delhi. But Durga Das Rathod, who was the one of the allies or the friend of Raja Jaswant Singh, he rescued Ajit Singh from Delhi. And after this incident, Rajput of Mewar and Marwar, they joined hand together. They came into alliance with each other, and they fought against Mughal for many years or several years. They were in war with Mughal for several years, and at the end of the war, Aurangzeb has to accept Ajit Singh as the ruler of Marwad at the end of the war. Okay, let's move forward. Relation with Shivaji of Aurangzeb. The Mughals had a conflict, or the Mughals were not in good relation with Marathas, who were the having the strong power, or who were very strong under the rule of Shivaji. Okay, Shivaji started to attack the Mughal territories in Deccan, means there were Mughal territories of Mughal many in Deccan, so Shivaji started to attack there. Aurangzeb, after seeing this, Aurangzeb sent Shahista Khan, but he was defeated very badly by Shivaji. Then after this, Aurangzeb was very annoyed and he sent another friend of him, Raja Jai Singh. So he persuaded Shivaji, or he was able to convert Shivaji to visit the court in Delhi in 1666. And Shivaji with his son Sambhaji, they were, when they visited Delhi, they were arrested and they kept inside the jail for 9 months. But after 9 months, without being came into notice of any person, Shivaji and his son were able to escape from Delhi and they came back to Deccan at their place. In 1674, Shivaji was crowned as king, or Shivaji was declared as king, but he died in 1680. He was not only successful military leader but an able administrator. We know that Shivaji was very able administrator and a very good king, but also a very successful military leader. Means he know that how to lead a military and how to win any kind of war under any situation. Here are the images of Aurangzeb. Okay, two images we can see here. Aurangzeb in Deccan. After the death of Shivaji, his son Sambhaji became the king and taken the throne. Aurangzeb reached Deccan in 1681 AD. He determined to crush the Marathas, or when he reached Deccan, he think that he can defeat Marathas, but his efforts, but means his work, or the Aurangzeb work did not give him success or the desired result as he wanted. Aurangzeb takes or Aurangzeb took Bijapur in 1686 and Golconda in 1687. And if we talk about in 1689 year, Sambhaji was also defeated. Means Sambhaji was defeated in 1689 and he was prisoned and killed. But the Marathas continued to cause a lot of trouble. Although after the death of Shivaji and Sambhaji, the Marathas didn't lose hope. They were able to continue the war and they were able to provide lot of trouble to Mughal and especially to Aurangzeb. From 1707 to 1707, for around 7 years, Aurangzeb remained in Deccan area. He died in Aurangabad in 1707 with a little success. But although Aurangzeb has got little success, but there was a huge loss of wealth and prestige of Mughals. Means there was huge loss of money and the image of Mughals. His absence in north created disorder and weakened the empire. And due to his absence, or as he was not present in Delhi, which was the main capital of Mughal, it his absence created unlawful situation or disorder, and because of this, the empire of Mughal was weakened or it became weak due to there was no king present when needed. Okay, let's move forward. Last day of empire means here we are talking about the last day of Mughal empires. Successors of Aurangzeb, they were very weak, or means we can say that they were not able to run the empire and they were inefficient in ruling. There was king named as Muhammad Shah, 1719 to 1748, around for 30 years. He was, we can say that he was not interested in empire and he was always surrounded with musicians and dancers, and due to this scenario he was known as Muhammad Shah Rangila. Due to his reign, means due to the inefficiency, Asaf Jahan, he declared independent ruler himself at Hyderabad. The same was done by governors of Bengal and Awadh. They also declared independence and they did not recognize or they did not want to work under the authority of Mughal king who was Muhammad Shah at that time. Nadir Shah, he was from Iran. He invaded India or Delhi in 1739. He killed many persons of Delhi and he returned back to Iran with many treasures or many wealth, immense treasure, which include the Kohinoor diamond, the important Kohinoor diamond from India, and the peacock throne of Shah Jahan. Now next is the rise of East India Company. Let's talk about how the East India Company risen in India. The English have developed three major trading centers at Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai. Means during that time, the Englishmen they have developed great trading centers at Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai. Means they were the three major ports of English, but the East India Company could not advance or they could not take the lead till the death of Aurangzeb in 1707. Although they have created three major ports, but they were not great, they did not advance till 1707. The French also formed their French East India Company in 1664 for trading, and after the battle which took place in Plassey in 1757, the English became the major power or the leading power in India. The Great Uprising or the Battle of 1857, it resulted to transfer the power of East India Company to the British Crown. Means after the independence battle in 1857, so the power of administration it was transferred from East India Company to the British Crown. The last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar, he was imprisoned or sent into prison and exiled to Rangoon, and he was sent to Rangoon where he died in 1862. Okay, here you can see the various images of English East India Company men came to India and the various scenario taking place. Here in left top corner you can see Englishmen talking with Indian persons, some kind of fair happening in the second. Third image, some king place where Englishmen came for as a representatives, and in the fourth image you can see Englishmen going on elephant at some place with some other Indians. Okay, now let's talk about the export trade. What was the export trade? Okay, the Mughal maintained the balance of power in Central Asia. Means the Mughals were able to maintain power balancing. Means they were able to maintain power balance in Central Asia. When the Turks tried to invade Iran, means when they tried to attack in at Iran, which was a Shia state, which was a Shia Muslim state, the Mughals helped them, or the Mughals extended support to Turks. They knew that the prosperity of their country depended on trade, because they knew that to prosper or for the development, their the country's development was dependent on trade. Means the greater the trade, the greater the prosperity or the greater the development will be. They made very effort or they made every effort to maintain trade relation with Central Asia, West Asia and other countries. Means the Mughal they tried to maintain good trading relationship or good commercial relationship with Central Asia, West Asia and other countries in which they were having trading relation. Okay, let's move forward. Let's talk about the Mughal court. What was Mughal court all about? The reign of Shah Jahan is considered to be the golden period of Mughal rule in India. Means the time duration of Shah Jahan administration, it was considered to be the very good period or the golden period of Mughal rule. The emperor sat on the famous peacock throne. Means the emperor Shah Jahan, he sat on the very famous peacock throne. The nobles had their fixed seat fixed in the court. Means the nobles or the important person they were having their seat fixed in the court. Means the particular person will sit at a particular place or his fixed place. They show great respect to the emperor, and due to a good place they show or the nobles shows their good respect or great respect to the emperor. The emperor also meet the common people at fixed hours in Diwane Am, means to have good relation with the common people. So the emperor was able to meet, or he tried to meet common people in a fixed time or at a fixed hour at Diwane Am, where common people and emperor meet and hear their grievance. Or emperor at Diwane Am, he used to hear various grievance or various talks from common people. Okay, when the emperor went on official tours, the contrast moved with, or and during the time when emperor was on tour at some place, there were also many persons who used to assist him. Okay, let's move forward. So here are the images, two images of the Mughal court. In the left, there is a Diwan-e Khas. Okay, and in right, you can see the Diwan-e Am, where you can see many persons. Also, you can see Englishman and other person who came to meet the emperor. Let's move forward. Let's talk about the Akbarnama and Ani Akbari. There was a historian in Akbar's court, or historian means that person who used to study and write about history. Abul Fazi, who he wrote Akbarnama, means Abul Fazi was the person, or he was the historian in Akbar's court who wrote Akbar's biography named as Akbarnama. What this book shows, or what this book Akbarnama tells, it tells about Akbar and his time, means what were the major incidents and major administrative aspects of Akbar, and what were activities took place during Akbar's time. Akbarnama has three volumes, means Akbarnama, the book, has three parts. First part deals with Akbar's ancestors from the day of Temur to those of Humayun, means part 1 of Akbarnama, ancestors part. Okay, part second, present or the current scenario of Akbar administration. Part 3, Akbar's administration and the legal and revenue system of empire, means how the in part 3 how the legal and revenue system of Akbar's empire was working. And other than these three parts, this book also gives important information about the various city and village administration, means during Akbar's period how the city and village administration was working, the duties which was assigned to police kotwals for maintenance of law and order, and what was the major steps taken, or what were the measures taken to regulate prices or to maintain the prices, and to prevent women from becoming sati. Okay, so here comes the end of this chapter, the Mughal Empire. I hope you have understood this chapter. Read the chapter and listen to this video very carefully so that you will not have any kind of confusion. Read it again and again, listen it again and again to avoid any kind of confusion. Okay, with this, take care and see you soon.